Okay, please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, today's prayer is to be led by Ms. Donna Manson.
Oh God, we come to you in prayer asking for your understanding. We come to you in prayer asking for your peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, our next public workshop will be Tuesday, September 26th at 10 a.m. in this room. And the next regular meeting will be next Wednesday, September 27th at 10:30, also in this room. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Here.
Ms. Frenchco.
Here.
Mr. Malloy.
Here.
Item number 1 is to dispense with reading the minutes of the regular meeting dated September 13th, 2023, and accept and approve the video recording of the September 13th, 2023 Commissioners' regular meeting as the official meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Because they're done incorrectly, no.
Item number 2 is to approve the bills.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 3 is to transfer monies.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 4 is to approve additional appropriations.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 5 is to transfer appropriations.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 6 is to receive and place on file the monthly activities report for the Trumbull County Dog Kennel for the month of August 2023.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 7 is to approve a school resource officer agreement between the County Commissioners, County Sheriff Paul Monroe, and Southington Local School District Board of Education for police protection and services for the Southington Local School District, its buildings and activities, personnel, students, and public on site for the 2023-2024 academic fiscal school year, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. The Southington Local School District agrees to pay the County Sheriff's Office $63,578.58 due and payable at the end of the term of the contract, which is effective throughout the academic fiscal year. And the sheriff agrees to furnish 1 deputy sheriff to the Southington Local School District.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I know that there was no, you guys didn't review the agenda items. Does anyone have the, any accounting of the finances for the cost of the services to make sure that the hard and soft costs are covered?
Yes, I did. I went with the sheriff personally myself, and I
As did I.
find everything to be covered.
So you just met with him. Is there, I'm asking if there's anything supplied because we still have to date not received anything to show that the costs of the services are fully covered by the amount of the contract.
I saw a PowerPoint presentation and there were the slides that went along with it that had all the facts and figures on it. About 2 weeks ago,
Okay, and it related to,
to the school districts and how they came across what they were doing this year with all the school districts and how they came across their costs. Even included uniform costs in there. I was surprised at that.
and include fuel,
Yes.
Yes.
depreciation of vehicles.
Yes.
Really? Okay, so I'd like to see a copy of that before I vote on it. In fact, I'd like to ask if the clerk obtained those things because I should have had it in my packet if something like that exists. And it also referenced training. Is anyone aware of the training that the sheriff actually does for those? Did they answer that?
There is training. In fact, we're even looking at a new building just to do school training for school emergencies that the whole sheriff's department's going to do in Howland.
Well, but I'm saying to date, I reviewed a contract yesterday that didn't identify that all the costs were covered, and it didn't identify what the training is. And just last week, I heard in depositions just that the sheriff does not train his staff. So I'm concerned, and I want to make sure that there aren't any future liabilities by wanting to find out what the training entails.
You heard that that the sheriff does not train his staff? Is that what you heard? I'm asking, Commissioner.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that can even happen, but,
Well,
Now we have a.
and that's a separately elected office. So
So-
we're still, reviewing contracts.
vote no for the
Oh.
police officer in the schools. if
Yeah,
you'd like.
defund the police if you'd like to and keep the kids at risk. That's up to you.
Well, it is a matter of if we're not making sure that all the costs are covered by the contract, dollar amount, then everyone in Trumbull County would thereby. be
Keep saying we.
Don't interrupt me. This is ridiculous. If we're not certain that the costs are covered, then everyone in Trumbull County is subsidizing the cost of one school, and that's.
And
Again-
that's for our
again-
children of our county. I don't think there's one citizen that minds preventing the next school shooting in this county.
Again, and
Um,
you keep saying we as if we didn't have the information. We can't help it that you don't have the information. Please don't speak for the entire board.
I don't know where you were yesterday, but okay.
Neither should you know. Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Only because I'm not sure that I haven't seen anything to prove that all the costs are covered with the contract or to verify about the training, then no.
Item number 8 is to approve a school resource officer agreement between the county commissioners, County Sheriff Paul Monroe, and the Joseph Badger Local School District Board of Education for police protection and services for the Joseph Badger Local School District, its buildings and activities, personnel, students, and public on site for the 2023-2024 academic fiscal school year, July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. The Joseph Badger Local School District agrees to pay the county sheriff $63,578.58 due and payable at the end of the term of the contract, and the sheriff agrees to furnish one deputy to Joseph Badger Local School District.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Absolutely. Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
The other thing is this being done after the fact? This is July 1st, 2023. Are they approving it after the contract already started?
It's payable at the end of the term of the contract.
Okay, so again, just because I reviewed it and it didn't clearly say whether or not all the costs are covered by the contract. And I don't want for people living in another township to have to pay for schools and that they don't live in. No, because there's no proof of that.
So what do you recommend? Do you want to yank the officers out of the schools? Is that what you want to do?
Point of order, I was asserting the reason for my no void. It's not discussion period.
Okay. Well, we don't need a discussion with every one of your answers. A simple yes or no will work.
Right.
Item number 9.
Item number 9 is to accept maintenance bond number 2202051 issued by FCCI Insurance Company, submitted by Z Tech Builders and Excavators, Inc., contractor for a sanitary sewer extension for a portion of Airport Road in Champion Township. The maintenance bond is in the amount of $2,640 and is for a 2-year period effective August 22nd, 2023 through August 22nd, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 10 is to exercise the option to renew Section 2, Article 7.
Wait, hold on real quick. I just noticed that bond you just voted on went into effect August 22nd, which was last month. And you had a problem with the sheriff's department contract starting a month ago, but you just said yes on this like it was no big deal that this one started on August 22nd. You had no problem with that.
I reviewed it. Did you review it? Do you want me to grab it? See?
Just a point of order. I was making a note that you had a problem with one thing when it was the sheriff's department, but when it was another department, you had no problem with backdating something, but we can move forward.
Item number 10, I'll start over.
But we
Sorry.
can finish a contractor because the county didn't.
To exercise the option to renew Section 2, Article 7 of the lease agreement between the State of Ohio Department of Transportation and Trumbull County Commissioners to allow the County Engineers Department to access the Hubbard ODOT outpost as stated in the lease. The original agreement was entered into on 10/5/2022, Journal Volume 155, page 25112, and included a one-year lease renewal with the terms and conditions stated within the agreement. The Ohio Department of Transportation is agreeable and has provided the county engineer's office with the lease extension and exercise option agreement to be executed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 11 is to concur with the county engineer to grant special hauling permits to haul steel coils by the company listed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 12 is to concur with the county engineer to grant the right-of-way permits requested by the company and resident listed.
Can you please read the companies?
First Energy, parent company of Ohio Edison, and Heather Burdick.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 13 is to concur with the county engineer to grant the special annual supplier fleet permit by the company listed. That's McCoy Excavating and Trucking LLC.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 14 is a routine liquor permit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to move number 16 ahead of number 15. 15 was on, but didn't include the language that the engineer's office wanted.
Motion dies for lack of a second.
At this time, I'd like to table both agenda items 15 and 16. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Wow.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Discussion, back to
Yes.
discussion. This is something that is incredibly important. It's a transportation improvement district. We cannot wait to table this. This came to us on August 8th.
We surely can
It's-
wait.
We
Why
can
can
wait,
not
please.
We have till May to apply for it until January.
Again,
to
this
set
is
up
not the place for misinformation and spin. We have up until May of next year.
Like
As
to
long as
invite-
as long as the TID is formed by the end of the year, we're in good shape.
There's,
And there are two different options to do that, to form the TID. This
Yep.
is only explaining one option. If you read
Right.
the Ohio Revised Code, there's two different options. Would you like me to go over them with you?
Yeah, and we're missing 5540.022, which is what Mahoning County does and how they do their TID. That's the one I prefer, and I'd like to discuss that at a public meeting on Tuesday. This one here only has one option and not that option that Mahoning County uses. And that's why I'm seconding your motion.
Thank you.
okay, so I'll continue to explain. In Mahoning County, the way they do theirs, their engineer is responsible for developing that board. In Trumbull County,
Incorrect.
I understand that the Board of Commissioners is supposed to do it, but they have given that duty, they have a working relationship with the engineer. However,
Statutorily, it is the board that does it,
Yep. It's
according to that other
Okay.
portion
so
of
we-
5540.
If we could invite, because we are at a public meeting and not a workshop that's not televised, I'd like to invite Gary Schaefer, the deputy engineer, to explain this and why he believes it's important to have this done.
Well, first of all, workshops are televised. They're recorded and they're on, yeah, they're open to the public.
They're not, okay, so while he's here, I'd like to invite him to speak about this and why you believe it's important.
Gary, we'll give you the option if you want to speak, but unless you include the second option with that, I really think it's premature and I'd
At the
rather
end of
have
the,
you
at the end
come
of the
back next
day,
week and
when
talk
we
about
got,
it.
Commissioner, at the end of the day, when we got this about a month ago,
We didn't get it a month ago. We got it 2 years ago when I started.
2 years ago, you were
Yes.
against the TID. 2 years ago, you were against the TID when Shay McMillan and Melissa Majorana were here from the chamber advocating for a TID, and you were against
They
it.
were advocating
let-
it for an area rather than
No,
countywide.
they were advocating it for countywide and you were against it. That's why we didn't move on it. So now we're at this point right
Come
now.
on all the time.
No, you were against it though. So now we're at this point right now, and there's two different options we can choose on how to form this. I think it behooves the commissioners to take the time necessary to go over both, to talk to CCAO, to talk to Mahoning County, and to talk to other counties as to what's working and what isn't. That's all I'm advocating for. And there's no chance of losing any funding. I talked to Jim Kinnick. There's no chance of losing any funding. 1 week isn't going to make a difference. Please stop with the charades.
And I believe we absolutely need a TID with things going on, especially with Mines Road and the development around the mall. But again, this is premature. This is only half the story. And we can't have half the story here in one option force fed to us. We need to look at both options. And I'm a little upset that both options aren't on this. Everything from the ORC is in here except for the last clause that gives us the option to have a five member board picked by the commissioners and then one non-voting member by the Speaker of the House. And that's remiss. It's not in here. So that it's
They're only giving
incomplete.
us partial information.
I don't know where either of you were yesterday or over the last week or the last month when this was brought up, but now.
I've had meetings on this at least 4 times.
Commissioner,
with
why
our
didn't
county
you bring it
engineer.
up? Commissioner, why didn't you bring it up and put it on the agenda if you knew about it? Any commissioner can put something on the agenda. Why didn't you put it on the agenda
I actually did put item number 16 on the agenda.
this week? But where
Half
was it
of
for the past 6
Half of
weeks?
it, and you left out part of it.
You have
You
to-
put on here what you wanted.
Let me explain because it doesn't sound like you're getting it and I can't make you understand, but maybe someone else
Here we
in the-
go.
out here will. There are 2 different ways. So you're only going to put on the agenda to vote on the way in which you're forming the Board of Trustees.
And that's
So-
not a way that I like. And that's why we're going to table it and discuss the pros and
Okay,
cons.
So that's, I just explained to you then, that's the answer. It only shows the way, you cannot form it 2 different ways. So I put it on the most reasonable way, which would
Not
include.
true.
Which would
which
take a lot of time involving many other entities and governmental bodies to get this board done. We could do a 5-member board next week and be moving ahead on this thing. To get these other entities to give their members and to get a meeting going, you're talking a month or maybe 2 months down the road.
Because they have to have designees.
Because I think it's appropriate that we give Warren and the city of Warren, the city of Niles, Helen Township, an opportunity to have people represented in that rather than letting the 2 commissioners decide on everyone in the 5-member board. I think it's advantageous to the community to allow that level of representation and to include our county highway engineer who
Who's to
should.
say we're not going to
Nothing
do
said we
that?
wouldn't. Where are you saying that we're not?
this
Mahoning
fact-
County does, and that's what if I would want to do what Mahoning County does,
The-
they include their sanitary
Yeah,
engineer
please-
and
Please don't
county
talk while I'm
engineer.
talking. It's extremely disruptive.
This
and
isn't the Nikki
disrespectful.
Frenchco show. Dress the chair when you want to talk.
Then don't.
It makes sense.
Okay, so we have the opportunity to do it pursuant to the revised code, which would automatically allow that. And that would be a safeguard to all of the larger cities and townships represented to make sure that they had someone on there rather than trusting the board,
Again,
which don't interrupt.
please get your finger out of my face.
You.
Please
took
get your finger out of
position
my
last
face.
week and explained how you don't interrupt and you sure as hell do.
I
So
can't,
please
I
stop.
did not say that. I said I interrupt when you lie, and you're lying right now. You're saying by Ohio revised code, this is the only way to do it.
That's
It's
not what I
not
said.
true.
So-
You said it's the best way to do it. That's
And
not
you said we're going to
true.
lose funding.
They give
which we're
you
not gonna
2
lose funding if we
options.
wait.
Stop lying to
That's scare
people and tell
tactics
them
to
the
scare the
truth.
public.
Continue to say what I was saying. And please, if you could pretend to be gentlemen for 5 minutes and be quiet and let me talk, it would be really appreciated to the public.
I'll give you all the time in the world you want to show your ignorance. Take an hour.
Okay. So the 2 ways that we can do this, the one way that was sent over here was recommended by the highway engineer because and it's the most logical way and it gives representation to, and you can see this, anyone who has an.
Commissioner,
can fi-
You do have
Yeah.
to say that's in your opinion, though, is what I'm saying. When you say it's the most logical way,
Board president, can you please act
But
like
I'm
a
just saying-
president and stop him from?
please, I'm just
Point of
saying,
order.
when you
point of
speak for
order,
the board,
Well, yeah,
Point of order.
you're
Listen,
speaking for the
interrupting.
board.
Speaking
Speak for
facts.
yourself.
Speaking
order.
facts. You
Point
said
of
it's the most
yourself.
logical way. That's according to you.
gavel whenever people interrupt me or.
Please just speak for
allow this.
yourself, not for the board,
This
okay?
is so disrespectful that okay.
Commissioner, all I'm asking is that you speak for yourself and not for the rest of the
Be
board.
quiet and allow people to speak.
But
even
don't
though it's
speak for
clear that
me.
You disrespect
But
women.
don't speak for me.
It's clear that if you're not one of you, then you don't like someone. So just.
I'm
be
just
quiet
asking
and-
you not to speak for me. When you speak for the board, when you say it's the most reasonable way the board should do things, speak for yourself, not for the board. In your opinion.
Okay, and in the opinion of the county engineer who sent this agenda item over, who
Fine.
deals with the highways, and in my opinion, I believe that we need to do this in a fashion that is that statutorily requires that we have representation from cities like Warren, Niles, and from townships like Helen, because in my opinion, as a matter of fact, I don't trust that the Board of Commissioners, the two that always outnumber the one, will do what's right. You've seen what they've done with WRTA. You've seen what they've done with everything else. And I think we need to make sure we're doing it in the revised code fashion that automatically safeguards the public from having two people make 5 political decisions.
I have the
Okay.
revised code.
I have the
Commissioner.
revised
I
code
have the
right here
revised
as
code
well.
right here, and here it says 5 members appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, right after the or. This is the other option
Mhm.
in the Ohio Revised Code.
Yeah.
So you read everything up until that point,
Because
and you
no
left
one's-
out the part you didn't want.
Because you can only do it one way or the other. Are you that dumb? to
This is the
understand
way
what
Mahoney
is?
County and many other
You
counties do
that
it.
dumb? Is that what you said?
I said you have to pick one or the other. I put it on the one way because it safeguards the public from letting you two pick 5 people.
We vote on things every week here.
Okay,
It is voted on by the Board of Commissioners ultimately anyway.
okay. I don't understand that. It's so hard for you to understand. It's or. So when you put it on the agenda, you have to pick one, and that's what I picked. Are you unable
Right.
to see that?
Right, and we're not going along with your or,
Okay.
apparently. Apparently, we don't like your opinion.
That's okay, Commissioner. There are 2 different ways to do it. We're just choosing a different way. We're exploring our options to do it another way. I think that's,
Guys would bring back
we're
the
doing our,
transit board if you
again,
could.
you're interrupting me now, but that we're doing our due diligence and looking at with CCAO, which route is easier to take. And when you say the Ohio Revised Code says that, I have it right here. This is the Ohio Revised
Yes.
Code 5540.02.
The agenda. I put it there.
No, you didn't. You put a half of it on the agenda as an alternative to the structure prescribed in Division
Hmm?
C1 of this section.
Well, why didn't
A
you
Board
put
of
that
County
way?
Commissioners, because I'm still researching it
For 2 years, okay. Or
for 2 years.
however many
You
years.
were
You've been
against
here
it for
8
2 years. You
Okay.
were against it for 2 years. And you never put it on the agenda
Not true.
either.
That's not correct. That's not
Never
correct.
put it on the agenda
That's not
ever.
correct.
Of this section, the Board of County Commissioners by resolution may elect that the Transportation Improvement District it creates be governed by a Board of Trustees consisted of the following members. 5 members appointed by the Board of Commissioners. 1 member appointed at the discretion of the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
No one trusts the Board of Commissioners.
That, again, that's your opinion, but I respectfully disagree.
Okay, so I have a motion to table items 15 and 16. Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Because I think it's important that we move forward with this in the least political statutory way in order to get our projects submitted by January and afford other communities to put forth people to serve on this committee or on the Board of Trustees. No.
And I
I have a
disagree.
question.
I
I
think,
have a question.
I think this
I have
is
a
the
question.
most political
Point
way,
of
because when you're
order.
involving all these other politicians in an election year that you're trying to give positions to, you're trying to give
No.
board seats to people to get them to vote for you. That's the most political way.
I have a question though.
Move on.
I have a question. You say in the least political way, we appoint board members
Voted
every
already.
week.
We voted already. Move on.
We appoint.
We
board-
voted. There's no discussion. Point of
Although
order.
I'm
There's
sure
no
there'll be a
board
half-hour
members every
discussion.
week.
No discussion.
I'm sure there'll be a half-hour discussion on your Facebook Live afterward. So we might as well explain our stance
Fine, the
now.
Board of Commissioners
There's no
appoints board
discussion.
members
There's no
all the
discussion
time.
at this point of.
It's nothing political.
Point of order. There's no discussion after the vote. Point of order.
Just talk louder. That makes it right.
Run a meeting.
Madam Clerk,
So,
17.
Item number 17 is to adopt a resolution allowing the Trumbull County Commissioners to apply for additional federal congestion mitigation air quality CMAQ funds programmed by the Eastgate Council of Governments to construct the final phase, Trumbull County Phase 4 of the Western Reserve Greenway Bike Trail in Trumbull County, Ohio.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Where's the information about this? I didn't have anything except for the journal action and in my packet yesterday.
Would you like to talk to Zach, the
I
executive
have it.
director? You can bring him up here if
Do
you'd
you have
like.
a packet? Why didn't you give us the budget for this?
There is, I can provide.
The budget for the application?
I can provide you the application as soon.
So you haven't done it. And where's the local money coming from? Your own
When we applied for $500,000 and we received that from the state. we're also applying
Yeah,
for-
exactly. You need to approach the microphone and do
Nobody
it the
can
right
hear
way,
you.
please.
Or this is done wrong. The meeting minutes and the recording is not acceptable anyway.
Say your name for the record, sir.
Zachary Savet, the Executive Director for Trumbull County Metro Parks. So we've applied for $500,000 and received that for the local match. We also have a $75,000 capital appropriation for the local match as well, and also applied for $1 million through the Appalachian Community Grant Fund as well to provide for the local match. So we should have a 0% local match for this project.
Where is any of that? I mean, you're telling me and I don't see anything.
There's a note in here that provides that information at the end. Let me sure I
I,
included that.
I see the note, but I don't see any documentation to support it. Like.
I can provide it to you.
Why didn't, the point is it needs to be provided. If you send over an agenda item and you're asking for an application and it references money and local match and it doesn't say where it's coming from, it looks as if it could be coming out of the commissioner's budget. And I'm making a motion to table this until we can review the documents to assure that the money is coming from where he's saying, because it doesn't indicate, it just says local match here of 188,531 without saying.
The application is due Friday, so if you
So what?
don't approve it, this project doesn't move forward and
Okay,
Commissioner
so
may
I
have-
want to
may have
make a
feedback
motion to
money.
to push this to the back so that you can get a copy of it so that I can see it, because you should have given it to us when you sent it over to be on the agenda. There's nothing. All you sent over was 2 pieces of paper with this written on it, with no supporting documentation.
No, your motion dies for lack of a second, so clearly you don't need to provide that, Zach. We already have a motion and a second.
Okay. Just
Mr. Cantala
blindly
Mesa,
vote.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Only because I have not reviewed.
I thought
yet.
discussion was over.
No,
Yeah.
you're allowed.
Yes or no?
You're permitted. What kind of, do you even understand how to run a meeting? A person is allowed to assert the reason for their vote without discussion.
You have to assert it every single time?
Because you
Every
do it
time?
already in
Yes or no?
discussion.
Give me airtime. Look at me.
Look at you from this angle.
What?
Item number 18 is to approve the personnel actions for the full-time employment of the applicants listed to the position of telecommunicator in the Trumbull County 911 Center at a pay rate of $17.02 per hour and serve a 180-day probationary period effective Sunday, September 24th, 2023. And those 4 applicants are Alexandra Beisel, Tiffany Infant, Tanner Palm, and Jennifer Schaefer.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Item number 19 is to amend the journal action taken by the Board of Commissioners on September 7th, 2023, duly recorded in Journal Volume 157, page 25947, awarding the proposal submitted by Kohler Floor Coverings to install VCT flooring at the Trumbull County Family Court Center in the amount not to exceed $7,571.50, and to authorize Denny Malloy, President, to execute all documents. Amendment is necessary to correct the fund number to be used for this project to fund number 921-130-1100-1-505409.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
When these every agenda item comes in, I'm requesting to see where they came from and didn't receive anything. I'm voting yes, but in the future, I'm telling the clerk to please make sure that she forwards the requests to all commissioners, at least me.
Okay, that concludes the regular agenda items for today. Are there any items from the floor? Yes. Please approach the microphone, state your name and where you're from if you're called upon.
Janet Hazlett, Warren, Ohio. I'm going to read a prepared statement. I have provided the commissioners with a document package with transit information. The first page is the ridership numbers from the WRTA Warren routes between January 1st and September 8th. The totals of the 5-day-a-week service is over 40,000 riders in just 8 months. Those totals exclude Southwest Warren, West and East Market Street and Youngstown Road, which is a part of the Warren Express route. If you include those rides, it would add many, many thousands more to the Warren total. The second page is a map of Ohio showing the sales tax rates per county. Page 3 is an alphabetical listing of Ohio counties showing the breakdown of those rates, separating the county rate and the transit rate where applicable. You will see that Trumbull is in the bottom third of the state in rates. The final page lists the Ohio county rated by public ratio. That is the total county population with percentages divided between municipal and township residents. You will note that Trumbull County has a higher municipal resident ratio than Mahoney County. I have been advocating for fixed route transit in Trumbull County for over 15 years. In that time, I have attended a majority of the WRTA meetings, excluding COVID lockdowns. Even though I knew that local transit would eventually need local tax funding, I have never asked for that. I felt that trial routes were needed to demonstrate the need. As much as I hoped for the routes, I knew that my belief in the need could have been wrong. Maybe I was mistaken. I wasn't. WRTA was able to provide those trial routes by obtaining grants from the state of Ohio that funded the routes for about 3.5 years with some breaks in service. A request for a grant for 2024 was rejected by the state, and therefore the routes have ceased. The WRTA grants required no local funding. However, you cannot have robust transit without local funding. Continuing grants require some local match. A proposed 0.25% would add just $100 to the purchase of a $40,000 car or 25 cents for $100. And Trumbull County would still be in the lowest third of the state. Mahoney County currently has such a sales tax and helps WRTA provide service to all of Mahoney County and parts of Trumbull County 6 days a week, resulting in 1.5 million rides. Sorry. I have heard mentioned that Trumbull County commissioners are looking at how transit can be provided in the county. I have heard the same question for the last 20 years, using up a lot of time and energy. As an aside, the Mahoney County commissioners spend no time on these questions. It has been stated that folks in northern Trumbull County aren't interested in transit. But if anyone from Kinsman, Mecca, or Southington has requested a ride with Trumbull County Senior Services, they actually are interested. I've provided the county municipal ratios to show that Mahoney County has a lower municipal rate than Trumbull. If you attended the Canfield Fair, you saw that Mahoney County also has cows and farms, but the county has passed the sales tax levy 3 times. As things currently exist, I have no idea how you plan to provide transit when over the last few years, Trumbull County was turned down for funding from the federal and state government, and there is no permanent local revenue stream. The county was gifted with the opportunity to demonstrate the need for transit. The refusal to recognize that gift not only hurts those who need and use the service, but everybody in the county as an impediment to economic development. Thank you. I'm sorry, this is an emotional subject for me, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Auditor Yoder,
I want to respond. I want to respond.
go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I'm not allowed to,
Martha,
To say that.
just a second.
but, I agree with joining, and it's not, I think there's a misconception that the transportation is all fixed routes if you join WRTA, but we have a plan that we were presented with from WRTA. Should we join? It included zones in areas like Brookfield and other places that you wouldn't typically think that they would have services. It also includes on-demand services all over Trumbull County for every corner. Even if it's not a senior or disabled person, it would include on-demand for the general public if they were in need.
Yeah.
So I just feel bad that there's this false narrative that the only thing WRTA does is fix routes, because they cater it based on the needs of the community. And we have rural and suburban areas, and they already are aware of that and put a tentative plan in place that.
But
Could I just say some of those things are required when you get federal funding, just to know there are things that you have to do.
But in their tentative plan, what you're leaving out is it was 3 to 4 years away. It would have been 3 to 4 years away for that to happen.
Thank you for mentioning that. And that's where I have a problem, which I mentioned to Ms. Frenchco a few months ago in the hallway when she asked me. All she was interested in is joining WRTA, but there's a gap. There needed to be some funding for these last few requests. So the state of Ohio, it was a good faith offer to the state of Ohio. They are not going to continue funding Trumbull County when Trumbull County shows no interest in that. And also, a levy wouldn't lose right now when you don't have commissioners willing to do it, or what took me 15 minutes to gather that information, willing to relay that information. Nothing would pass. So it's just a it's a breakdown of transit that's been going on in this county for, well, a long time, but this last iteration has been about 20 years. So it's not, that's,
Yeah, it's
I don't want
unfair
to-
say-
I get upset.
disagree with that, and to say that nothing will pass. If the Board of Commissioners were to join, it would be up to the people to vote.
But reality is they're not.
Okay,
And you have not done anything. You could have done what I did in 15 minutes. Get that information and continue to relay that information. You can't, I said, I always wanted a tax, but I didn't have a right to demand it. It had needed to be shown. That's where I agreed with Commissioner Cantala Mesa. You needed to have proof that it was needed. And the problem is there was no thought after that. So thank you.
the state of Ohio, yeah, and I will talk now, finally. The state of Ohio was only going.
Why do you put down your biggest advocates in the
No,
world?
I'm just saying.
Everyone that jumps to your side to try to help you, you throw them an anchor instead of a life jacket. Why do you do that all the time?
Obviously.
You did it with Tara last week.
No.
You're doing it with this young lady. Why do you put down the people trying to help
No
you?
one's putting any.
Unless it's your
Okay.
way, exactly. You don't want to
Oh,
listen to what they have to
okay.
say and you degrade them. It's disgusting.
As I was saying, the money, excuse me, we can't have. discussion.
Those are a couple more people that are here to support your
It
side
doesn't
of
matter.
things.
We can't have, you're supposed to be the president, and there's not supposed to be sidebar conversation.
You're the one yelling out.
Addressed it. So the money that we knew that the money was going to end. So it's not all of a sudden we have to try to plan. And we knew originally going into it that the OTPP money was only going to be temporary for the purpose of allowing us to join. And then that grant from the state of Ohio was going to be filling the gaps until should we join and the tax had passed, the revenue started to come in. That was the intention from day one. I was aware of it. Everyone was aware of it, but everyone let it go on and didn't want to make any types of decisions surrounding that.
Yeah, I could fight all day and I'm not going to do it. What I said before is it took me 15 minutes to gather this information. The last 2 years, I'm nobody. I'm just somebody that lives on Kenilworth. You had the ability to sell it
So am I. I'm
to your
nobody,
fellow
just someone who lives
commissioners.
on Kenilworth,
You
too.
had that ability
Hmm.
and you didn't do it. And that's where I have a problem. It's not that I don't want to have this be personal,
That's fine.
but I want that to be stated that
Sure.
you need to sell. That's why I come all the time for years and give numbers to you and Warren City in order to sell
Yeah.
the service. And you
Sometimes
need to
people
do
don't
that.
want to buy anything. Sometimes people have their minds made up before you get there, and there's nothing that you could do to change their minds. And that's what I've been working with for the last few years.
Yeah, well,
So, I mean,
I-
I think that's what the
Jenna,
Board of Commissioners has been working with.
Yeah,
The common denominator of the problems the last 3 years is one person that's been here for the last
I
3
have
years.
more faith in people than that.
okay.
So it's,
Thank you.
Well, again, I agree that I'm just no one too. I'm just a person who lives on Kenilworth. I'm nobody as well, because it takes the majority of the board to actually try to get something done. And it always seems to be 2 against 1.
When there's a problem in every single room you go into, every room, every crowd, every group of people you're
Would you
around.
stop, get back on track with
Maybe
the
the
meeting.
problem isn't everybody in the room, every room you go into.
Maybe.
Or every department you work.
And,
every department.
again, I'm pretty sure that you had your campaign headquarters and donations a lot from Terry Thomas. And
I had none. Where's my
something.
campaign finance? You want to prove that or you want to be sued? There's nothing. There's not one single donation there.
Okay.
So lie some more.
Okay. Bob Faulkner holding up your sign. I mean, your meetings were at community busing.
No, they were not.
Okay.
I had a couple of meetings when I was exploring, learning about the county, but to sit up here and accuse me of receiving donations and then doing that, it's a lie.
Oh.
It doesn't fit your narrative, so you lie.
No.
Auditor
shame.
Yoder.
Speaking of misinformation, this is Auditor Yoder speaking. Speaking of misinformation, there's been some misinformation about the current 6-year mass reappraisal, and I wanted to clear the air on and give some facts over it. First of all, this mass reappraisal that's we're finishing up right now, it's done every 6 years according to statute. I didn't come into office and decide I was going to raise everyone's property values. It's by statute. It's based primarily on market value as well as improvements made to the property. The appraisal we're finishing up right now is done by an outside contractor, and it was begun at the end of 2021. Even if I wanted to do an appraisal, I wouldn't be, or a mass reappraisal on my own, I wouldn't be able to, and I certainly wouldn't be able to finish one up in 6 months. We're at the end of the process, as I mentioned. Our tentative values were sent to the state last Friday, and we are awaiting approval. As I mentioned, the property valuations are based on primarily on market value. Unless you've been in a coma the last 3 years, you will note that our market has been extremely high and extremely sound in Trumbull County. Because of this, we are expecting our tentative values that were submitted are countywide raising from 35 to 36% countywide average. After approval by the state, we will make individual property values available so people can look and see where their values are. After that, we're looking at the end of October, beginning of November, doing 2 weeks of informal reviews. So if you have an issue with your value, once it's posted, we will be glad to sit down with you. It will be my staff, the staff from Integrity Appraisals who does our appraisals, and the property owner. It can also be done virtually. It's important to note that your appraised value is different from your assessed value. Your assessed value is what you are taxed on. Assessed value is 35% of the appraised value. So if you have a $100,000 home that's valued market value at $100,000, you are taxed on $35,000 of that. Levies are complicated things. Property taxes are complicated. Some levies are a fixed sum, so they are set to raise only a certain amount. Some are like our inside millage at the 10 mils or 1%. That's always going to be 1%. Because of those blends, you have an effective rate, which is less than your full rate. There are also one other complication is that we have 23 levies on the ballot. So that will affect your taxes as well. Each taxing district will be different. We have 67 taxing districts. So the taxing for each one of those will be different. I can say this, though, that your percent of property value increase is not going to equal the percent of property tax value of tax increase. I'll say that again. Your percent of property value property value increase will not be equal to the percent of tax increase. Additionally, people should be aware that for the elderly and disabled and veterans, there is a homestead exemption, which has just been which is being expanded. And also a lot of people aren't aware that you have an owner occupancy. Check that, see if you're you're eligible for those that can help you next year. It should also be noted that all levies above the constitutional 10 mils are voted on. The auditor is not raising your taxes. I don't have that ability. The auditor's responsibility is to do property valuation according to state law and apply the taxes voted on by the people. Incomplete information, like saying the auditor is raising your taxes, that's actually complete misinformation, or not going into why a mass reappraisal is done, that's incomplete information, is misinformation. Any misinformation from a public official is irresponsible. Thank you.
You want to respond to that?
Okay, anybody else have anything for the good of the county? Yes, Mr. Peg.
That noise.
Good morning, Phil Pegg from Vienna Township. This is the first that I've been hearing about the Transportation Improvement District. Are the commissioners planning to come to the Township Association dinner Thursday and try to explain that to us? I understand you tabled it. It looks like there's a missing item E. I have yet to review the whole Ohio Revised Code, but we need some explanation if you can.
I'll explain. There's
I have it
there's
here if
not
you'd
a
like it, Phil.
there's
Got it.
not a it's right online. You can look it on your phone or wherever. But it's not a missing item. You have to pick one way or another. The one way is a statutory way to put that district together, and the other one, the Board of Commissioners picks the people solely on their own. And my belief, along with the highway engineer's belief, is that we should use a statutory mechanism in order to allow the input from those entities that are listed on today's agenda.
They're both statutory ways to do it.
Okay, that was the first item. Second item, you may have seen it on either TV or read it in the papers. Mahoning County, Green Township now has a proposed 500-acre solar farm. Not a good thing. The trustees in Green Township oppose it, as well as all of the neighbors. Again, I know we've been speaking about this for over a year, but we really need to get moving on it. You know, a lot of things that people don't understand. Okay, so the guy leases 500 acres for the solar panels. How does he get the power to market? Question a lot of people don't even think about.
Right.
Well, what they're going to do, it's quite simple because of installing power lines with the power towers. All they do is take the neighbor's property through eminent domain to run that power. The state of Ohio does that. Something that doesn't really make your neighbors happy if you're going to give away your farm. Something to think about, and it really needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
I think that our planning commission has sent out to all the townships surveys as to large solar farms and large wind farms and how they want us to handle it. The results are somewhat surprising, but I believe we can start with a resolution with those townships that are already against it, and then amend as we go, just so that we're protecting the townships that are already vocally and officially against it. I think that's the first order of business that we need to take care of.
Problem is that we have other townships right now that are still, that have potential requests from people who are interested in those farms currently. And so since they're interested now, and they don't have zoning, anything. Yes, exactly. They have nothing in place right now. So that's a problem for some of the townships that they're experiencing because they have nothing in place. And then if someone says, we're going to do this, we want it to be changed to commercial for the purpose of the solar panels, then what's to stop someone else from coming in and arguing for equal protection and equal application, that they then want to have another commercial strip or something there? And that's not what should be, in my opinion, happening in areas that are agricultural, where they want to preserve the integrity of what they do in their communities. So that's a concern from others right now up in the northern township.
And again, I'd piggyback on that. I think that the data that came back from the townships was rather surprising, because I think the Board of Commissioners would have rather had a blanket policy throughout the entire county. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen, because a lot of them either are misinformed or aren't aware of exactly what we're talking about, which is no fault of any township. I'm not saying that, but this is new, and they do these jobs part-time for the most part. So township trustees are not aware of everything that's going on, but it is critically important that we put something together to protect those townships that have already been vocal against it. I think.
It is. Columbiana was really the first county on the eastern side of Ohio that had this occurring. I believe they only have 2 townships left that do not have the mega farms enacted. Mahoning County is working on it, but the same as Trumbull County, they haven't had their big meetings yet.
Well,
I
and
know
we've even asked on that survey, would you like to have a meeting? And the majority of those townships have said no.
Yeah.
So that's even
Yeah,
more
I gotta-
surprising, but it is what it is.
I have a little differing view. Yesterday, I did have about an hour-long conversation with that landowner in Mahoning County and found out his views, his stance, why he wanted it, what the rates were. I heard all the pros and stuff regarding him, which opened my eyes to another whole side of things. And then ironically, about 2 hours later, I get a phone call from the largest farmer in Trumbull County and had a nice long conversation with him. He's against it. But he said his neighbor, one of the top 5 farmers in Trumbull County, is already under contract in his township, 2 of his neighbors actually, for this. So Gustavus Township right now is going to be the epicenter of what's going on. And we've got one of the largest farmers for it, one of the second largest farmer groups against it. And we're going to continue to have meetings regarding that over the next weeks. And this is something that you're right, we need to do something now, because there's real money being thrown at these guys on the table, and they are signing contracts, and it's going to end up where Gustavus trustees and their zoning board, they don't want to make a decision. They want to put it on the commissioners. They ask that they not be at war with their neighbors, and they asked if we can handle this thing sooner than later. So we do need to address this in one way or another and bring all the facts out on the table soon.
It's also a concern for future generations, because that's going to be the next brownfield. Those are only good for so many years, and what are they going to do for disposal? That's going to contaminate. And what's the exit strategy? We're going to have brownfields as a result of that.
There's so many problems with the solar, such as you start off with, you don't want it next to you. So it's gonna depreciate your property value. Who's gonna want to build a home next to it? Then you have the problem with, you're right. How long is it gonna last? Who's gonna remove it after it's completed? Let's say, and I did meet with Gustavus zoning. And one of the questions, okay, so they're proposing possibly doing a bond system to make sure it's removed. Well, here's a quarter worth 25 cents now. Well, not really. With depreciation, it's down to 5. So if they get a $10,000 bond, what's it worth in 30 or 40 years? Probably not enough to cover the removal of the panels. Lastly, let's say you've got a 100-acre solar farm and you get a lightning strike in the middle of it. How do you put it out? How do you get trucks in there? It's a difficult situation. And
One other factor they have, Phil, that I learned yesterday also was there's only so much power that can be used.
Yep.
And there aren't batteries for this power. So if one mega farm signs up, he basically just screwed all of his neighbors out of it if they wanted to do it, because there's nobody to buy the power, because they've already got enough power from that sector.
Yep.
That they don't have anywhere to utilize that. So it is first to the table eats the most, and it's not a fair program, I guess, per se. It's not something like oil that you can put in reserve or anything. With the electricity, they make it, they use it. And that's going to create problems also. So this thing is, the more we learn about it, the more we find the other tentacles that go along with it. I hate to restrict anybody's property rights, personally, but we got to think of the greater good of the whole community and the whole population at the same time.
exactly. Hope to see you all Thursday night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that too, I do feel we as a board of commissioners, we need to set something up to have a special meeting or have some type of talks where we can try to civilly talk about this, to not just talk to the public every week and say, we're going to do something, we're going to do something, we're going to do something, and then not do something. Same thing with transportation. We need to do something as a board with transportation and sit down and look at all options on the table. And then of course, ARPA funds, our application period ended on Friday. We have them here now. We're going to have a spreadsheet by next Tuesday of all the people that applied and what the amount is. We need to sit down too, like adults, and figure out how we're going to spend the rest of the money that we have there. And I would love for all 3 commissioners to be involved in that, but I can only ask. Mr. Glenn.
Hi, Mr. Glenn, Trumbull County lifelong resident. Excuse me. Piggybacking on Mr. Peg, there's somebody on Facebook, Ohio Green Energy Authority. Now, not to say they're connected with Trumbull County, but they put Trumbull County in bold letters all the time. And the residents are now able to take advantage of this brand new program. Trumbull County can get solar with no upfront cost. So, just to put that in. Second comment I like to make was on social media yesterday, courtesy of Commissioner Frenchco, there was an incident in the office and in the HR office. And I'd please beg you to put something out there that she is not to get in the employees' faces and follow them around like a dog's tail. And I know you're a commissioner, Ms. Frenchco, but nobody deserves or needs to be treated in this manner. So please stop. Thank you.
Let's address this real quick then. We do have a policy that any one commissioner can put something on the agenda. We also have a policy that agenda items need to be turned in by Thursday, at end of business day Thursday, for them to make it to the next week's agenda. So we need to establish somehow here what is our precedent going forward with stuff, so we don't have instances like this on the day before where one of us want to throw something on there and then make an employee stop what they're doing or reroute what their workday is in regards to that. It's either Thursday or it's not Thursday. We either have a deadline or we don't have a deadline.
Happened last week because anytime you have your workshop and you make a change to the agenda, there's always something added after that. So that
With the consent of 2 commissioners.
neither either way, that's contrary. How it has been is if you're a commissioner, you have the ability to put things on, just as you're commissioners and you add something the day before. I'm a commissioner and I can add something the day before.
Well, then I guess I'd like to make a motion from the floor.
Type of disparate treatment that you have maybe for some other reason.
No, I'd like to make a motion from the floor that our deadline for department heads to get their thing on the agenda is end of workday on Thursday. If something else needs to be added by a commissioner or department head, it has to have the consent of two of the commissioners. It can be approved at a public workshop on the Tuesday preceding. And if it's not met by that deadline, it does not make it to the agenda for Wednesday.
I'll second that.
There's also a problem with other department heads and other elected officials bringing things on at the last minute.
That's why I just brought this. That's why I just made this motion. I said it applies for anybody. So it has to be approved by more than one commissioner on the Tuesday preceding for it to happen. The only legally way we can do that is at our public meeting on Tuesday. So that's what my motion is. And I got a second for it.
So
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
during discussion.
We're not in discussion
We're
yet.
not in
Now you can
discussion.
discuss.
Mr.
After we have the motion on the floor, now you can discuss during the vote.
You don't call the roll until after discussion. Do you not understand that? Not either of you?
How long are you going to discuss?
There are things that you didn't, that are going on. We don't get our agenda until the Tuesday. If all of the agenda items are coming in on the Thursday before the sir, you were smart mouth to me in the back. I know you're her boyfriend, but please don't interrupt the.
Here we go.
Here we go. Commissioner. Hello.
No,
Do your job.
okay. Okay, I mean, I hope the deputies are keeping an eye on this.
Commissioner, I'm tired of getting a bad name in this county because of your actions every day. This has got to stop.
If it's a Thursday and that all the agenda items are coming on the Thursday, then there's no reason for the agenda not to reach the commissioners by Tuesday.
No, they have to collect them all.
Okay. So what happens, and I've been made aware of this, is that the clerk makes up the agenda. Then she gives it to the department heads and everyone else who submitted them before she even gives them to us. If we're acting as true administrators, we should be reviewing these things before they go on.
Are you going to come in on Friday and review anything? You don't do anything till Tuesday nights.
Don't get anything until Tuesday. So on
Commissioner.
Friday.
I
or
have to have
whatever-
time to assemble it.
Commissioner,
when you
And run it by
assemble-
the prosecutor and type it.
just real quick, can I just add something?
I would like those things to be given to me and the board so that we can review them. Don't send them out to the department heads. without
They have to
including the commissioner.
proofread their items. That's the way it goes. You don't understand because you don't know what I do.
Commissioner,
You're
can I
a
just,
Smart mouth. and
Commissioner?
You need to really watch the way your conduct is. It's inappropriate. I've been.
You're
I've been
inappropriate.
telling you since you.
And address the chair, Commissioner.
Since you've assumed this role, I've been saying, I want to see this. When
And
you
it was a
say-
problem with the last clerk and then the clerk before
Commissioner.
that. It's everyone else's problem always.
When it's sent out, it
Yep.
needs to be said to the commissioners. We should
You're
not.
one
It gets
employee, you're
sent
no
to
better than
you.
anybody in this room.
can I just say
No
one
better
thing?
than any county employee we have out there.
I have corrected dozens of items that have been put on the wrong way or something has been done
No,
wrong.
you haven't.
Pardon?
Can I please say one thing? But by that,
Look at you, Commissioner.
She
You're
said she-
belittling an employee right here in
She
front of the
said
public.
talk. She-
This is how you act every day. This is why we've been sued. This is why we paid out $500,000 to employees already.
You want
Because
to
of
fa-
this.
No, you want to.
They get to see this in action. This is what the judge sees. This is what a jury would see. This is what the arbitrators see, the moderators. They see it. They say she's wrong. They cut a check to the employee
can I
over
just-
and over again,
in regards to,
over and over,
in
over
regard,
and over, Commissioner.
look at yours.
I don't need to be on your show. I don't need to be in your game.
Look at this.
This is a commissioners meeting.
Is this normal?
You should be embarrassed.
Just for a point of clarification, you said that you need all that information to review beforehand. Okay,
I do.
fine. But when you
Okay,
put,
I make a motion from.
can
no,
I speak,
wait,
We
please?
already have
I'm
a
making-
motion.
Can I
We're-
speak? Can I just clarify something?
Okay.
When you said you need to have all that information in order to do that, you put agenda items on all the time, the day before. We don't have the
do.
ability to do
You
that.
You
We don't
do.
have the ability.
Last
Wait,
week you did.
can you let me
Done.
finish?
And we interrupt when we're lying.
Mauro
and you're lying.
Cantalasa has the
Can
floor,
you,
please.
can you let me finish,
Okay.
please? You
You're
make
lying.
motions from the floor.
Lying.
We have no idea what you're
You're
talking
lying.
about. We have no backup information,
Lying.
but you expect us to vote on these things. So you're saying one
made a
thing and
motion.
doing another.
Same as you. You just made a motion from the floor and you're complaining about motions from the floor, but you're voting on it right now because it's a good old.
Oh,
boys
we, no,
club.
we
You're
do
the one
motion
saying
on the
you need
floor.
time to review things. If you're making
Okay.
motions from the floor, there's no time to review things.
Then I make
Correct?
then I will make a motion to ensure that since we're going to be having everything done by Thursday, that we get a copy of the agenda by Friday.
No.
I have to have time to put it together.
It'll be date stamped. There'll be maybe 15 emails coming at the end of the day on Thursday. She can't get it all done overnight. She's not going to work overtime at night. She's not going to do what the last
But
clerk
they
did and take her work home to impress you
They
and
can-
and to try to stay out of your target.
Festivals, they can have content.
They can do whatever they want on their time. They can do whatever they want when they're not. We only have them here for 8 hours. You want them here, you're beck and call.
6.5.
Well, that's okay. Deal with the union.
Let's just move on and take the vote. This is terrible.
I'm,
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
no, and I'm making a motion that we are provided. It's terrible that I should have to try to make a motion to be able to receive information that's given to department heads and not me by that lady over there. That shouldn't be how it happens. I want the board to create, to assert right now, I'm making a motion that when she sends out the agenda for final approval to the department heads, that she's also sending it out to the commissioners. at the same
No,
time.
because the items may need corrected prior to you getting them.
Why would you
Exactly.
want-
Don't you understand that?
And there may be some things needed in the process.
No, you don't correct
Don't
them.
talk.
The department heads need to.
How are you
their
going to correct an
items
item
and make
within
sure
the
that-
department?
Because we're their administrators, right?
I know, but that's why we have department heads. That's why we pay them.
Things are, send them to, I'm telling you, if you're a clerk, you work for all three commissioners.
I
There's a
know that. I'm
statutory
well
duty.
aware of that.
There's a statutory duty, and I'm telling you to send me the agenda as well. When you're sending it to everyone else for their approval, let me look at it at that time.
That's never the way Paulette Godfrey did it.
Okay.
And that's not the way I was taught by her.
Okay.
Hello?
And you wanted me to be the clerk a couple years ago.
Hello?
Now I'm asking that you do, what day do you do that?
What day do I?
Commissioner,
do
you
what?
got to stop badgering her. You got to stop this.
Send it out to.
You got to
everyone.
grow up and
Monday.
stop this. This is ridiculous. This is
It
embarrassment.
depends on the length and the content.
So when it goes out, I would like additional time to
you
review. I
think-
don't, please send it to me at that time as well. And just say that, just CC me on what you're sending every department head. There's no reason for that not, for me not to be included in a request.
90% of the time, you don't even,
That's
you don't even read your
That's
email.
not the way
You
it's
come in here and
done.
We tell you it's in your email box
not
and
the
you
way
never
it's
read
done.
it.
That's not the way it's done.
Yes, that is,
I want to have that email. You're not fulfilling your duty.
We have the stuff by Tuesday. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
Commissioner Cannon Malace is okay with it. If you're not okay with it, sorry.
By Tuesday. Okay. So that's why I end up trying to make corrections the day before, is because I don't get it until the day.
Well,
before.
come to the workshop. You can talk to the department heads and make the corrections you want to try to make.
I
it's very
want to
simple.
be able to prove it.
there you go. That's the answer.
That's why we hold a workshop.
Quiet and stop interrupting. You do not have the ability, you are supposed to be a silent person.
Just
calling the
imagine
ball.
everyone out there, if a
Cool.
prospective business is looking at this right
Good.
now. Good? That a prospective business is looking at this right now, or somebody trying to move to Trumbull County is looking at this behavior. This is not professional. Stop.
Never let I want to be able to review things as soon as the agenda goes out.
This isn't all about you, Nikki.
It is about the commissioners. If you don't want to hire administrator, act in an administrative capacity. That means we need to be reviewing the
We
agenda.
review the agendas publicly with the department heads.
You-
We don't? Okay, you're right.
Did you just not hear that you don't
You're
need to
right.
review it? The department
right.
heads are reviewing it?
They come to the
Okay.
meeting and discuss it
You- you
publicly.
heard what She just said, did you hear that the clerk sends it out to everyone else before she sends it?
I
to us?
send their item to
Send
them,
To them. That's
not
their
the entire
department.
agenda. I send their
Their
item to
department and
them.
Their hirings or whatever it may be. They have to approve that stuff before it comes to us.
Yes, and then for you to say that
Doesn't know the
on,
process.
for you to say that now on Tuesday, I'm not able to correct things that I find that are incorrect is
I
absolutely,
didn't say that.
We never said that.
you.
I
if
never said that.
You are saying that.
No, we said to
I
add an
have the
agenda item
ability
to correct something. If something needs corrected, by all means, correct it.
I said, come to the workshop and you can do it there publicly as opposed to behind closed doors.
Okay. These are just dumb as a box of rocks.
The voters are dumb as a box of rocks for putting you here. Alexandra, do you have something to say?
Commissioners, on August 21st, 2023, and prior to that, Paula Vovoda-Klotz put out an SOP on how to do on how to submit the agenda items. This has been set in stone for quite some time. So the misinformation needs to stop. I will read verbatim the SOP, and I inquire anybody to make a public records request to ask for what this SOP does. So everybody can get a little bit more informed on what the processes truly are. Okay, so first and foremost, all agenda items are to be submitted the Thursday prior to the commissioners meeting by 12 p.m. That's been a rule.
I just made it by end of day. So
Okay.
Since the
So,
reorg,
Since the
it
reorg.
was a,
So we'll extend it to end of day, that's fine. They are to email the BOC agenda items. They are to copy all three commissioners. So I'm a little bit confused why you're saying that you don't have the information when I know for a fact when I send agenda items, I send it to all three of you,
As does everybody.
as does everybody else. Thank you. On Thursday. That's on Thursday before Tuesday. They are to label their subject with their department agenda items, date of next commissioners meeting. I even gave them an example. If it's urgent, they label it as time sensitive. They are also to attach a Word document. It is not up to the clerk to determine how every department does their business. I'm responsible for HR. I make sure I give her what to put on the agenda. I would be doing her a huge disservice, as with the county, to their employees, if they expect the clerk who does not deal with our day-to-day nuances in our businesses to create the agenda items. It is up to us as department heads to submit those items. I don't know how to make this more clear. Thank you. Moving forward. So I also stress in the SOP that we worked through together, that they not only attach their Word document with how they want their agenda item written, but also that they attach all contracts, correspondences, grids, rubrics, tools, prosecutor's opinion, so on and so forth, change orders. Everything is sent to you in advance. The false narrative, it needs to stop. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
thank you.
is there anything about that, Commissioner, you don't understand? I think she just said it pretty clearly in writing, and it's there. You can read it. She can get you a copy. Matter of fact, Alexandra, can you please provide a copy of that again to all three commissioners? And email Commissioner Frenchco, hand deliver one to her also, if you would, and put one in her mailbox. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, commissioners. Thank you for letting me be here this morning. I just wanted to say that I am honored to be here. I do live in Trumbull County. I'm a new resident. I'm here because of my passion for the bus and my need for it. And I'm learning. So I don't know everything. Nobody was here Tuesday at the workshop, but I will be here every Tuesday. No, ma'am, I came and the security guard downstairs wouldn't let me come in because he said there's nobody here. And I asked for Mr. Mo.
I can say if there's a commissioner upstairs, I'd like to see one. I'm here every Tuesday. They were not here. They canceled their workshop that I was there.
Okay.
A
Well,
week ago.
like I said, I'm learning and I'm not aware of everything. So I will,
Your name and where you're from again. I'm sorry, she didn't.
oh,
catch
I'm
that.
sorry. Oh, my name is Tara. I live in Girard. And I just wanted to say, and I'm not picking on you, Miss Frenchco, but I am a Black lady in America. And please don't throw your weight around and say, oh, I hope the deputies are doing their job, because I was getting up ready to leave. Just because someone voices their opinion or says something you don't like, or you think that they threaten you, which I didn't hear that gentleman say anything. That's not cool. And I'd appreciate you not do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for the greater good of Trumbull County?
I do.
Okay.
I want to announce that there is, it skipped the site of our HR department evidently, but this is the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. It was last week, and there is a event. It's a Olaf Fest. It is in Youngstown. It starts from noon in Ween Park and goes on until 8 or 9 at night. There is bands coming in from Cleveland, salsa bands, Grupo Fuego, Sammy de Leon. There are lessons at 3:30, and it's really nice to see Hispanic heritage being celebrated in the Mahoning Valley. And I just wanted to bring that up and hope that people will go and appreciate that event, and that maybe our HR would acknowledge that as well.
Okay, anybody on the phone lines, hit *6 and unmute yourself.
That said that they would. Oh, okay.
Morning, Commissioners.
Name, sir.
It's Engineer Smith. Am I on the line?
Yes.
Good morning. I apologize for any of the confusion on the Transportation Improvement District. I didn't realize it would be as perhaps as controversial as it was, but I did want to provide a couple points of clarification. With regards to the decision of the statutory scheme that was selected, that was a joint decision with the City of Warren, City of Niles, Howland Township, Eastgate, the Chamber, the Building Trades, and the Port Authority participated in those discussions. Collectively, there was, I believe, a total of 3, perhaps 4 meetings. I'd have to go back and check my notes.
Why were
Engineer,
why were commissioners not included in those discussions?
Well, we were sending it down there, and you've had my letter from August 8th to present, and I haven't heard anything other than about a week ago when the discussion came up about the difference between a TID and a TIF.
Okay, I heard there were meetings, but I didn't see any
No.
invites for any of the commissioners. But go ahead.
Sure, and it was really just with those stakeholders, and it was actually being modeled somewhat after the Golden Triangle Coalition. The thought was that there would be a good opportunity to have some unity and show a united front moving forward, and that's why the decision was made. But if the commissioners, want to go in a different direction, I certainly respect that. That's, your prerogative. Even with the other statutory scheme, or this particular statutory scheme, you would still have the ability to appoint 3 members to the board rather than 5 moving forward. The other thing that I'd want to point out, the deadline for funding is actually January coming up, not May, as was mentioned. That's a moving target every year. And when I heard that it was mentioned that it wasn't due until May, I immediately reached out to Shay McMillan, who's been in touch with Christina Wagner, who administers or is involved in the program, and assured us that January is the deadline moving forward. The last thing I would say, I concur with Commissioner Canada Mesa. Hopefully people weren't listening to the meeting, because we had a discussion yesterday with the chamber and a major developer, and the creation of the TID was a topic because of some of their needs. And I informed them that it would be on the agenda tomorrow, and probably a 50-50 chance that they were listening today. Hopefully they didn't have an opportunity to tune in.
Well, if they were, we never said we're not against it. We all agree we need to have one. We just need to discuss it in a public meeting first and look at all the options, not just one.
Sure. Nope, I understand that.
Thank you.
And I also.
Thank you.
One of the other things that I want to say is I spoke to Mike Keys yesterday, who I believe was representing the City of Warren in those meetings, if I'm not mistaken. And he also was an advocate he was actually happy that I was having it added to the agenda the correct way.
Actually, that's not correct. I spoke to Mike Keys today,
Okay.
and he said as long as it's on the agenda in the coming month, he's fine with it. And he actually said he spoke to you, and you told him, "Are we going to lose funding? Are we going to lose funding?" He never said we're going to lose funding. You actually put words in his mouth, so he wasn't happy about that.
Well, I don't, Commissioner, if I'm still on the speaker, the concern is just that it is a January deadline, and to develop a project to move forward, we do have to move fairly
Engineer Smith,
swiftly regardless of the decision.
Engineer Smith, you got to understand that the board has two different options here. We want to weigh both options and make sure that we're doing this the correct way. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to, and I think a week is very, you know, I don't think a week is too much to have to do our due diligence and talk to CCAO and talk to some other communities.
Oh, no, I would agree with you.
And we need to look at that too, because I was told that they will start accepting the applications May 1st. We're eligible for 250 to 500,000, and there's only 5 million statewide going to be available. But we have to have the TID started. We have to have it formed by January 1, and they'll start accepting applications on May 1. So we'll have to look at that to see who's correct on that one. Between a simple call with Shay and a couple people will be able to figure that out. And that's something we
Okay,
can
and yes,
do.
Commissioner,
in the
I
resources
literally had
next
that
week.
call with Shay 5 minutes ago, and Shay said the deadline is January, for what it's worth.
Which is why it's very important for us to do this. And if we were to do it the statutory way, which is the way that all those other communities agree, where it's statutorily defined who is on there. Although it is a statutory way for the commissioners to pick the
Thank you.
people, it's still a way where the Board of Commissioners wouldn't be selecting. It would be other communities that are stakeholders in those matters. And it will take a bit of time because it has to go to their council and to their township meetings. And we need to get that moving expeditiously, because it even defines what the next steps are moving forward in order to notify those entities that they need to select their representatives.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other callers on the line? Hit *6 to unmute yourself, please.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, name and where you're from, please.
This is Sean Shook, Trumbull County resident.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. This has been another great episode of the Nikki Frenchco Show, I have to say. And I believe it's going to get much, much worse as the weeks moving forward, as Ms. Frenchco is desperately trying to figure out a way to use something to get herself reelected. Because for almost 3 years now, she's done nothing. She comes to work and she causes chaos and dysfunction. And that's when she does come to work. Usually she lives on social media and she attends events so she can do photo ops. So it looks like she's doing something. This is her game. Because all she wants to do is play gotcha. The March primary is right around the corner and she doesn't know what to do. And she's known for only showing people and telling people what she wants them to know. If her minions would learn that, maybe she wouldn't have even a handful of followers that she still does. Remember, everybody, the March primary is only right around the corner. Vote her out. Thank you.
Any other callers? *6, please. I asked my colleagues up here, are we going to be able to set a meeting for ARPA screening? Are we going to set a meeting for transportation discussions?
Yeah. The board's pleasure. Sure.
Commissioner, are you going to be involved in that? Do you want to be involved in that? Or can we set a meeting where you're going to be at to do this stuff? Okay.
There's a lot of upcoming. We have to look at our schedules.
I know we do, but I think this is top priority. I mean, this ARPA funding stuff has gone on long enough. We got townships waiting for money. We got some people waiting for money since May of 22, some maybe even longer, that we need to tell them yes or no or give them an answer, because they're the future. Some of these entities that
If you're
relies
not
on
looking
that.
at it, then my preference would be to have that spreadsheet developed with the items that I would like to be able to see, to review in advance of the meeting, and to have a very clearly defined agenda so that it's not, the regular shit show. So can we please wait a week until we get the paperwork that we need to review, and I'd volunteer to run that meeting so that it stays on track.
So we will have Auditor Yoder will have spreadsheets for us next week.
11 was town 11 hours yesterday. You know. I know it's like. We had quite a few things come in right at the end, and some of those were revisions, and we had to kind of we're still working and clarifying that spreadsheet that I have, that I'm gonna review and make sure we have, accurate numbers from each application and all of that has that's the pending application spreadsheet. Now the second one of ones that you guys have already allocated, that hasn't changed. Numbers may change before next. That hasn't changed, that you guys have been given. And remember, I give every packet every week. On the pending ones, what I've included are the date of the request, who's made the request is a little blurb about the request, as well as the locations. On the blurb, there's more information. You guys will also, you'll have on the Commissioner Drive the ability to access all in one place right now. We still need to application that was sent to the cloud by the person, and it was cloud, but it was for a designated time. I don't actually have the complete application on you, and we're gonna put that on there. But we have a specific file that you guys will be able to access. What I want to do right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be looking for that for next week then. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then I guess we can discuss next week after we see that next week's meeting, hopefully have a date or have some possible dates we can get together to review that. Transportation issues. Can we set a meeting for that also, as far as bringing some of the advisory people that we talked about, some of the stakeholders to the table and discussing options that we have out there?
I'm open to that. Yeah. We have our transportation director here that just walked in. Thank you, Michael Salamone. Talking about a transit meeting with potential transit advisory board that we'd like to put together, that you would work in conjunction with.
We would like to solicit ideas and bring some of the people together to talk about all options, including WRTA, Uber, dealing with the vendors we already deal with, and what we can do to plug this gap immediately for the people that need to get to work or they're underserved right now, that need busing or need some form of transportation. And of course, the cities, I think, need to be involved in this somewhat too, that are most directly affected.
Thank you. It's Mike Selma, Trumbull County Transit Director. Just for your information, I have been taking phone numbers and names of people that are not able to get transportation. I only have about 3 or 4 at this, and I'm saying only, I apologize, but I have about 3 or 4 at this point that definitely need transportation. So yeah, there is a group, there are some out there, but we need to work on that, figure this out, that are in that group between disabled and 60 years old. The other ones that I've gotten, they're either disabled or 60 years of age. Now, I did have one client that was over 60, but also disabled, lives in Mahoney County, works here in Trumbull County. So and under the senior levy, the way it works is senior levy has to have funding. I mean, they have to be Trumbull County residents. Disabled does not. So I've talked with Comfort Caravan. I've talked with this client, and I'm going to make an executive decision on this one. And that is, if the client's willing to take the Warren Express to downtown, Comfort Caravan will pick him up downtown. And then we would take him from downtown to work. And that would be under the disabled. So I'm trying to work through things, but yes, I do have several people at some point we want to talk about a little further that are in the general public that do not.
But you have 3 people so far that reached out that they're requesting
3 or 4,
assistance
yes.
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And majority of them are for work.
Okay. And then again, thank you, Mike.
There was one other thing I wanted to tell you because I was actually listening to the meeting beforehand. And while I was listening to the meeting, I received an email from the FTA. On Friday, I sent an email to Kelly Brookins, which is the FTA director. And I asked to set up a meeting with her regarding funding for Trumbull County. I received an email back. They are interested in setting up a meeting. They would like WRTA and ODOT to be there. So right now I'm trying to set up some dates for this meeting.
Perfect.
I'll definitely keep you in the loop about that. I just want to let you know, but that happened while this meeting was going on.
Very
So,
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to be there.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, the question will be, and that's the question we got to ask later on. Do we want this as a public meeting or not? If it's not a public meeting, really only one of you can attend.
I would like it to be a public meeting. I've never met with WRTA ever. They've never called me. I've never had any discussions with any of their officials. So to do due diligence, yeah, I would like to be there.
Called you and you never called him back.
Okay.
That's wrong. I've left 2
So,
messages for him. You
One
can check
of
my
the-
phone
I
log.
will send an email back to the FTA saying that this will be a public meeting, so all
Well,
3 possibly all 3 could attend.
Honestly, whatever they choose, whatever the FTA and WRTA are comfortable with, if they want a private meeting, then the commissioners will send a representative. So it's not the
Okay,
majority
I
of the
will-
board.
I'll
Because
send,
we want to have this meeting. So if it's going to
This meeting.
deter a meeting, let's not do that. you know.
so I will send a question to the FTA saying, which way can we do this
Right.
meeting and let them come back.
Let them choose.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Peg, is it on the agenda for the trustees association? Anything about solar panels, or is it just something we'll do in the? Because we would like the input. We know that there's been opinions in the past with things. There wasn't an interest last week, but I think after this thing yesterday in Mahoning County and the calls that I got yesterday, I think the interest has maybe reversed or changed a little more now that's it's reality. When we got 3 of the biggest landowners in the county saying we need to do something in one day, I think that's representative of we need to do something.
Sure.
I'd like to waive privilege on that.
But I would as well.
I concur also.
And I so much confusion on that and how they spread it out between the governance with the counties as opposed to the locals. In my opinion, it should have been all up to the locals and the townships, but for whatever reason, the state has made it so that the counties are in charge of these large solar and wind farms. So it makes it even more confusing for the townships, in my opinion. But
Here, Mother, can you approach the mic, Martha? I hate to do that, but we want to make sure we capture everything.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, also former trustee. So I would suggest that even if you can only get about 5 minutes in that program, that you maybe include or have with you a fact sheet. Maybe Julie could work on that with just the basic facts of what the law is. So even if you just, say a few words, one of you, whether it's Phil or you or whoever says a few words about what's going on with it, that you guys can leave them with something to take with them. That's just a suggestion.
Julie, can we make copies of the survey and maybe distribute that so the other trustees can see what the other ones think, and then maybe that'll spark some discussion amongst themselves a little more for them to move ahead and form their opinions better. Yes. And Phil, I guess if you can be the spokesman for this thing to bring it up at the meeting, at least bring up that this is something we were going to address and you've been working with us on this. Yes, sir, Mr. Joseph.
Keep in mind that some of us have to schedule rides and it can only be between like 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. Thank you. It can only be between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. So we're kind of focused on what we can, or what we're able to do, because we're dependent upon our drivers. The other thing, and it's driver related, and it's really, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's not a slam on anything, don't get me wrong. For the first time in 7 years, I had to wait. And I'm sorry if Dave is listening. Dave, you know how much I love your company. If you're listening, I had to wait an hour for Comfort Caravan. The first time in 7 years. And I've talked to some of the drivers, and the driver, I fear, I have no proof, but I fear that they're getting maxed out because of the hole. Because not having another transportation company to help us in the wheelchairs, right? Because now we're down to one. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention that this is the ripple effect of this could be a problem relatively soon. So I just wanted all of you to know that the first time in 7 years, I had to wait an hour. And I talk to the drivers all the time, and they tell me how they feel because they trust me. And I appreciate what they do. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, really? No, I never seen like.
Anybody else have anything? Yeah,
Make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Mr. Cantala Mesa.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yes.
Yes, sir.